Legoland Windsor, a bricktastic adventure or a crumbling disappointment? Let's break down the ride lineup and see what should be kept and what should be scrapped. So, as with the rest of these videos, I am going to start with their new headline attraction, and of course that is Minifigure Speedway. This is an interesting one. It's, I can't remember, is the manufacturer Zero? It's one of the smaller guys, it's not the big manufacturers, and I guess it doesn't need to be, right? It's a kid's coaster, it's nothing spectacular. Now, it's interesting because there is that dueling element, it's like a dueling boomerang coaster, which I don't think there's too many of those out there. I'll be honest with you though, it's more intense going backwards than I anticipated. It is not intense, it's not thrilling by any stretch of the imagination, but for a kid's ride, there was more force in it than I was anticipating. Now, from a theming point of view, there's a big giant Lego man, you go through a billboard, that's about it. The queue line's kind of bland, it's not ideal. So although this is their headline attraction, we're not going to start that strong on this one because I'm going to put this one straight in the take it or leave it pile. Now you move further over to the boards at the back of the park and there is an attraction there that, again, at one point was their headline attraction, and that is Flight of the Skylion. Now basically this is a flying theatre, there are many of them out there. I'm a huge fan of these personally. My partner not so much. Bizarrely, she loves Flight of Passage over in Animal Kingdom, right? Same kind of concept. So I took her on a flying theatre thinking she'll love it. Apparently if you don't like heights, it's not great with your feet dangling. So yeah, listen, it's a great story. I quite enjoy this one. The problem with all flying theatres though is that it depends on where you're sitting. Too high up, you see the top of the screen. Too low down, you see the bottom of the screen. So you're trying to get that middle seat. But nonetheless, it is good fun and it is one I'm going to put in the keep pile. There's an attraction here that has just had some TLC, so it is clearly not going anywhere. It was closed for best part of a season, half a season, something like that. Could be a whole year, can't remember exactly, but it just reopened, and that is their Deep Sea Adventure. Now, basically, this is you getting into these kind of Lego submarines, and then you go around this kind of underwater track and you see various fish and sea life. The concept is great. Don't get me wrong, the concept is great. I personally think it's badly executed. I don't think you've got a great viewpoint. Like, it also depends on how full the boats are. If it's really quite quiet, you might be okay because you can move around and see stuff. But if it's at capacity and you're kind of sitting facing one side or the other, you don't always have a great view and you certainly can't see all of it. So then you kind of need to go on it again, which I guess is, you know, something they want from all attractions to encourage re-rideability. But for me, yeah, I like the concept, I don't like the implementation. So this one, I'm afraid, is going in my scrap pile. Now, there's two coasters that sit kind of close together and they're similar in name. And one of them is the Dragon. Now, this is a rather interesting attraction in that, so you go into this castle building and then, you know, the queue line works its way through that. And then you get in and you get onto this, well, dragon-themed train, effectively. And it starts off really, really well. There's an indoor scene where you go through all these kind of Lego dioramas, and it is fantastic. It is really, really well done. You know, the way that I just love all the Lego models they put together. They're fantastic. And then you go outside, and then you go up the hill, and then off you go on this track that you can't see a huge amount of before you go on it. So, you know, I think for most people, this is a bigger coaster than you would anticipate. Again, not the most thrilling thing. Nothing in this park will be, let's be fair. It is aimed at the younger audience. But I think this is quite an enjoyable ride. And then obviously, once you're finished the outdoor section, you're back at the station. So this one I am a fan of, and it is one that I'm going to keep. This next ride is a weird one. I think I've done a couple of similar attractions, and I like the concept in that they're trying to do this modern take on a shooter ride, except in theory to minimize like problems with Brits braking, there's no moving parts, right? It's just sensors that detect your hands. And of course, we're talking about Ninjago at this point. I know the other rides I've done the Spider-Man one over in Disneyland Paris. I think the problem with both of these is that, well, first of all, you end up exhausted, right? You're doing this all the time. By the time you get off it, your wrists are killing you. It's really difficult to tell what's you and what's somebody else. Like, they are color coded, so, you know, once you figure out what color you are, you should be okay. I mean, it's just, you know, you're aiming over here and then it's flying over there. It's just a weird one. I just don't think the technology works as well as it should. So I'm gonna scrap it. This next one's probably gonna surprise some of you. So there is the Duplo Dino coaster. Probably the most kiddie coaster out there. It is the slowest coaster out there. It doesn't have a very exciting track. It just goes round in a circuit twice, I believe. And it's got the rather annoying whee, woo, as it kind of goes around. So listen, again, 100% not aimed at a grown man in his 40s, but I appreciate this for what it is, because not quite often in parks I say this is probably a kid's first coaster, right? And we're usually talking bigger than this. This is very, very, very much a kid's first coaster. Like really, really small children can go on this. And for that reason alone, I think this is fantastic. So although it does nothing for me personally, and it is definitely not aimed at me, it is one that I would keep because I think it does introduce a very young generation to the concept of a coaster. So more of these, please. The park has a Vekoma Madhouse, and that is their haunted monster party thing. Can't remember the full name of it. But it's a Vekoma Madhouse, right? You know, you go in, there's reasonably good theming all the way in, and then you go into the sort of pre-show section where Dracula and that's sort of doing his thing, and I think there's a little sort of song bit and stuff, and then you get into the ride. I like Vekoma Madhouses, usually, but I'm very critical of a lot of them because either I don't understand the storyline because they're not in English, or in this case, I just don't think it's very well done. Now, again, I get it. This is a kids' park. This is not going to be a thrilling Vekoma Madhouse. I wasn't a big fan of it. So, yeah, for me, I'm gonna scrap it. This park's got a couple of water rides, and one of them is their fairy tale Brook. Now, this is a very, very, very gentle ride. Certainly not thrilling again. Look, I'm gonna just keep saying that, but you know, it's Legoland, it's not gonna be thrilling. But this one is, I mean, it's very, very tame, but I really like this one because it basically, as the name suggests, it goes through various fairy tales told in a Lego manner, right? So you've got the pigs and the wolf, and you've got Snow White, and you've got other things, and I can't remember fairy tales because I'm old, but you've got lots of them, and they're really well done. So yeah, I really like this one, although I did go on it on my own, and well, you know, the kind of weight of it wasn't ideal, and I got stuck at the end, and the guy had to kind of shove us back up again. But anyway, nonetheless, I'm going to keep it. Now there's a boat ride that I'm less of a fan of, mainly because of the way it's operated, not necessarily the ride itself, and that is the Coastguard HQ. Now, basically this is the little boats that you sort of steer around and stuff. My biggest issue with this, as I said, it's basically the operations. It is one of those ones that even though it can have 2 or 3 lanes loading at once, you would think it would have a reasonably good throughput. I've never seen that. I've always seen it have a big backed up queue. I mean, it's all right. Again, you're kind of going through, there's less sort of theming around this as there is on that fairy tale one we just talked about. So it's a longer ride with less to see. It does still have some cool stuff. It's got like the elephant and stuff and other bits that I can't even remember right now. But yeah, I'm not a fan of this one. Just because it's poorly operated and I always find it very slow. To be fair, I'm not a huge fan of the operations in this park in general. I think it's pretty bad, but on this one, it's going to lead me to scrap it. And then the other water ride is their logboat, their pirate, now what's it called? Pirate Falls Treasure Quest. There you go. I've forgotten its name. Now, I might have only done this once, and I've probably told this story before. Right, for those of you who don't know, I have a degree in physics. I don't use it anymore, I'm a software developer for a living, but I have a degree in computational physics. And I went down here when my kids were very, very little with a couple of friends, and the 3 dads were like, we'll go on this, and the kids and the mums will sit and watch. And I went, I'll go at the front, because then the water will go right over me and you guys will get soaked. And the other 2 looked at each other and went, on you go. Yeah, I don't know how I got a physics degree. Yeah. Anyway, I'd keep the ride. And the next one is water themed, although not an actual water ride, and that is the Jolly Rancher. Now, it's a pirate boat. I've talked about these in almost every video we've done because so many parks have them, and they're all basically the same. That said, I do enjoy a pirate boat, so there's not much to say about this other than I'd keep it. Right, so when I was talking about Ninjago, I said it's kind of like a modern take on a shooter ride. They do have a shooter ride, and it's called Laser Raiders. It's a reasonably impressive facade to this building going in. Not bad queue line, you know. Quite cool because it's aimed at kids. There's a section where the kids can leave the queue and go and watch some like something on the TV whilst the parents queue up and then join back on later. Good idea, I like that. And then bizarrely, this one, I find this really strange. You cross over the train track to get into the ride. So quite often the queue will stop whilst the train goes past, and then you'll cross over and then continue the queue. So that's a little bit odd. But conceptually, this one, it's pretty poor. It's very slow, and I just wasn't impressed with it. I think there's definitely better dark ride shooters out there. So I'm gonna scrap this one as well. There's a flat ride here that I am I'm quite a fan of actually, because I think it's probably one of the more forceful ones, certainly in this park, and that is Merlin's Challenge. Now it's that kind of ride that goes round and round and round and up and down and stuff, which of course then just means you get pinned to the edge of the seat, and I think it's quite good. I've been on it a handful of times. I've also been when it has been closed for various different reasons. But yeah, I like this, and I always say flat rides are mandatory in a park to soak up capacity. So I'm gonna keep this one. So I mentioned earlier that there's two coasters sitting next to each other that are similarly named, and we've already talked about the Dragon. Well, the other one is the Dragon's Apprentice. Now, it is the more junior of the two coasters, certainly aimed at that lower audience. And I mean, it's okay. Look, again, it's gonna be a tame ride. There's no denying that. I've been sort of burnt by the operations on this one again, where I don't understand how it can go so slow, how it can take them so long to load the ride, and then you get off it and you're like, that wasn't worth standing in the queue. So for me, listen, I've said it before, I'm not a huge fan of scrapping coasters, so I'm just going to put this one in the take it or leave it pile. Another ride that I think I've probably only done once, just because usually, well, the last couple of trips I've been on my own without my kids, and I probably feel like a wally doing it on my own, and that's Hydra's Challenge. It's those kind of little boat things that they're attached to a platform that rotates and you kind of skid out and in, and then there's people trying to soak you and stuff. Listen, it's okay, it's pretty good. Again, as I said, not one I go on when I'm there on my own, but it's a flat ride, so I'll keep it. Right, so the next thing is not an attraction. Well, it's not a ride, it's definitely an attraction, and it's a staple of the park. It wouldn't be Legoland without it, and that of course is Miniland. Now, it's mini insofar as all of the dioramas are small, it's actually quite a large land. And I really like this. It's so immersive how they've kind of got all the different parts around the world. I love the fact that they've got my home city. There's Edinburgh Castle there. And I've joked before about the ScotRail train that's always late. So yeah, I really like this. I think it's fascinating how they manage to kind of encapsulate all these parts of the world in a Lego form. I just think it's fantastic. So listen, it wouldn't be Legoland without it. So it's obvious that this is going to be kept. So there's another thing that I have mentioned in multiple review videos before, because I'm a fan of them, and that is the train ride. Now theirs is Legoland Express, but as I say, the reason I like this is because I always enjoy something relaxing after lunch, right? Now listen, there's nothing extreme in this park, so arguably you could go on probably any ride after eating and be fine, but in your average park, you know, you've got this combination of thrill rides and kind of the smaller rides. So usually it's enjoyable to just relax after your lunch and just get on the train and go around the park. And they got one. So I love the concept of it. Unlike the one in Emerald Park that absolutely flies around the track and is over in like 60 seconds, this one's okay. So let's keep it. Now there's a ton of really kids rides. Now I've touched on a couple already, but I'm certainly not going to go through all of them because I haven't experienced every single one of them. And as I've said in other videos, I probably shouldn't. But there's one here, Autumn's Riding Adventure. Now, basically, this is another roller disco. And if you've seen my videos, you probably know my feelings about a roller disco. They're not the most thrilling of rides. This is, if I remember correctly, the half-pipe version. I've said in lots of videos I don't like the ones with a hump in the middle. This one doesn't, pretty sure this is just the half-pipe. I still don't remember it being the best though. The ones that have got the hump, I've scrapped all of those in every park that I've been reviewing. But because this one isn't, I will give it a little bit of grace and I'll put it in the take it or leave it pile. There's another transportation ride here. Now if you've been at the park, you know it's built on a hill. You come in at the top, the rides are down the bottom. So you could get down in the morning and then you got to get back up at the end of the day. So for that reason, they have the hill train. Now this is a funicular railway, which if I'm not mistaken, is basically just that it's kind of on a pulley system, so one goes up, one goes down, they pass each other and then do their thing. Listen, it's great for those who need it in terms of accessibility, and it can be kind of a nice enjoyable way to get to and from the rides at the start and end of the day. But it can also end up with a massive queue, and you know, by definition, it doesn't have a very high throughput, so that can be very, very frustrating, and you can end up stuck waiting for ages to get on this ride. So whilst I appreciate it for what it is, it's definitely what I'm quite happy to just walk up and down the hill. Could do with losing a few pounds, so walking up that hill isn't a problem. So yeah, I'm gonna put this one in take it or leave it, because I think, you know, it's part of the park and it's definitely got value for a lot of people, but yeah, it's just not one for me. So there's a summary of Legoland Windsor. There are quite a lot of things I've put in the keep pile, which I'm kind of surprised by. I think I've said it already, my biggest gripe with this park is operations, not the ride lineup. I think the rides they have are pretty good for the target audience, and mostly the park looks really, really appealing. You know, that whole Lego vibe, I like it. I just wish they could sort the operations out. But anyway, I'd love to know your thoughts on this, what you agree with, what you disagree with. Yeah, if you've enjoyed this one, hit that like button, hit subscribe and make this number go up. I have been Chris, you've been watching Coastguard, and I shall see you in the next one. Adios.